Do you want to know what's going round? See what's the talk of the town on Real Talk on the radio today.
And welcome to Real Talk Radio 97.5 FM. This is KDW Radio's John Rawlings live on the air. We are very appreciative of Remax Palm Realty for being our emergency broadcasting tower for the city of Northport. I am going to introduce my very special guests today from C.A.R.E. We have two individuals. Actually, I'm going to let them take the honor of running with this because have we met live and in person yet? Either one of us?
No.
I didn't think so. So this is a fresh crew, a fresh start. So I'll let you guys take it. And go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi. So I'm Megan Phillips. I'm the coordinator of prevention programs here at C.A.R.E. I recently just started here a couple months ago, and I basically teach all the prevention programs that they hand me, and I go to schools, colleges, nursing programs, anything of that sort, and talk about the prevention side of DV and SV. So,
fantastic.
And I'm Katie Alonso. I am the new volunteer coordinator here at C.A.R.E. I go out in the community looking for volunteers and people willing to donate some of their time to us and help us and kind of assist with all the training for the volunteers and that stuff.
So let's stay right there for a second. How important is it for one, and we've talked about this for probably, I think we're going on our 6th year. Talk to us about the importance of volunteers.
They help us stay doing what we're doing. Without our volunteers, we would not be able to help people out in the community. We always are needing volunteers for hospital response when people have the biggest need for someone to be there for them. We need volunteers to go out and do outreach in the community. We're going to be opening a daycare soon, and we'll need volunteers helping us with that. The daycare will be just for survivors so that they can find the child care they need in order to leave the situations they're in.
Fantastic. And you know, we talk about all kinds of different topics on here, and I did make a quick camera change, as you could tell. We're not going to jump anymore, but you know, we've got a community now in Port Charlotte and a state that is, I think we're still number 6 in a nation, right, for human trafficking and different things like that. But the volunteer base at C.A.R.E. isn't just one faceted. There's a lot of things that you guys really do to incorporate volunteers into, isn't there?
There's a lot. They do outreach, hospital response. They help us fix things around the building. They help us pick up groceries for shelter. They help us make lesson plans. They do so many different things. Without them, we just couldn't even operate.
And anything to add in?
They also help us in the call center. I mean, we are 24/7 hotline, text line, and they help so much, especially in the call center. They're always talking to they're always going to be talking to a real live person and not a computer. So.
And how long have you been at C.A.R.E.?
I've been here for about 4 months.
All right. Katie?
About 2 months.
All right. So I did say fresh start right from the beginning.
Yes.
So what's really cool about this, though, is it's a fresh start, a new adventure for you both. Take a minute and talk about your backgrounds prior to coming to C.A.R.E.
Yeah, I can go into that first. I graduated from the University of Tampa, and I actually I'm with C.A.R.E. on an internship right now. I needed it for my internship hours my senior year. Fantastic. And then it turned into a career, which is why I'm still here. I graduated with a degree in applied sociology with a minor in criminology. And this helps, especially with my sociology side. It's perfect for my major. And I still get to do the things that I love and analyze groups of people, make reports, use anything that I've learned from University of Tampa. So it's very nice.
Fantastic. Katie?
Prior to working here, the only thing I've ever done for work is work in restaurants and be on the service industry side of things. So I made a very, very drastic career change. I did that because my whole life I grew up with my parents in a domestic violence situation, and I saw everything it did to my mother and everything she went through, and it made me want to use that to go out and help other people.
Okay, so you guys have different journeys, same kind of goals now with those journeys, but you with two different walks of life, you bring different influencers in too. And I'm going to correct you a little bit because, Katie, don't ever say only. Because and I'm going to tell you why. I was a grill cook. I then went into the medical field and I was 27 years into medical. I love the industry and I'm blessed to be a realtor. And now I'm blessed to be a volunteer at WKDW Radio and be the operations manager, another great paying free position as a volunteer. We get as we go through these adventures, we're going to get a lot of titles. It may not bring dollars in, but they are influencers to people. And your background, when I correct you a little bit, it's with love because your background is who you are and there's never an only to who you are. It's always who you are. And that's what makes you genuine to other people. So keep that in mind because your education level is and please forgive me, your first name again. uh,
Megan.
Megan, I'm sorry, I missed
No,
that.
you're okay.
So Megan's adventure is different than your adventure and your journeys are different, but that doesn't mean your goals are different. They're the same. And you're both going to be able to talk to different people in different ways. And that's the beauty of having you both on the screen at the same time because not every person that you guys talk to at CARE has the same styles. Everybody has to kind of intermix. Do you find that to be the case?
Yes, it's very much, I mean, you've heard the saying, a melting pot of cultures, ages, diversity. And that's what I loved, especially about CARE, especially being my major as well. And studying people is that so many different walks of life, so many different shoes that are completely different, but we still walk alongside one another, understanding and share the same exact goal.
So it was 4 months at CARE.
Mhm.
Katie's 2.
Mhm.
So at 4 months, Megan, what have you learned about CARE that you did not realize before?
What I did not realize before was I felt, I don't think ignorance is a bad word in my opinion. I've always used ignorance as I just wasn't knowledgeable enough. I thought that when individuals are in tough situations, they immediately go for help. Never the case. It takes at least 7 times before they start leaving someone. And I never knew that. I just thought, oh my God, the minute they see something or hear something that goes bad, especially in their intimate partner relationships, they just leave. And I was very ignorant to that. And I'm glad that I've learned a multitude of lessons. And since I work with mostly younger children and high school age and college age, the kids are beyond honest, and I love that about them. And learning how to consistently pivot and use my conversation skills and update my conversation skills, if you would, it's definitely helped in that area as well. So
You've got a system intact with schooling that is really good. There's nothing wrong with the schooling side of things. There is something to be said about real life and situations that happen in real life. Do you find that your schooling prepared you? Because I know the answer to this because you just gave it, but do you kind of feel like that there's a separation between the reality of school and I'll help you with this. When we took our real estate boards, they said learn what's in the book. You won't apply all of it out, in the real world. Do you find that to be the same way with what you learned?
To be honest, on it's a heavy loaded question to say the very least. Um, yes and no is how I'll answer that question, because there are some situations that are textbook and they can be looked up on, and you can say like, okay, these are the warning signs of bystander intervention and like what to do, how to interject, anything of that sort. But the other side of that is not every single story is the same. So you can't go about it the same exact way, textbook every time. So having been at this job, I could say yes and no, because sometimes you do need that textbook to kind of guide you and to help you go through that situation with the survivor. But then on the other side is there's that human and genuine part, which doesn't come from the textbook. It's not like all straight laced and immediately solved, you know? So yes and no.
So great answer. And I love how you worded it. And, you know, there's no test here. That's one thing for sure. But the beauty in this is if there are people out there that are listening right now, there's two women here taking different journeys, and they're different styles, different education backgrounds, different thought processes. But at the end of the day, it's still care of people, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And Katie, I'm going to slide over to you for a second. And there's not going to be nearly as much pressure on you for this question. How about that? But I didn't mean to put Megan under pressure, but I love the fact that she was able to come through that moment and think about her education and the reality of working on the job, you being on the job, and that you've been through some things in your lifetime. What have you learned through this process now that you've been employed for 2 months at C.A.R.E?
My biggest thing I learned, I think, was that how many people have went through kind of similar situations to me, and how things were more textbook than I realized. I had gone through life feeling really alone and like nobody else could have this going on. And there's so many other people that have similar struggles. I also learned how many resources there are out there to get help that I didn't even know about. So that kind of like fires me up to want to make sure other people going through similar things do know about the resources, and that we do go out there and share what we can do for people.
And you know, there's a level of commitment that you have to have this job.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is not one of your easier jobs, is it?
No.
And you're kind of both answering at the same time, which is great. Megan, when you picked this field, did you imagine yourself here in this moment?
I think I've always imagined myself in the moment of I've always wanted to help people, and that's such a cliche response. But at the end of the day, it's what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing, and I think finding it here was it was my purpose. It was the path that was paid for me through my internship, and I'm very happy about it. So
I'm going to ask you a question, because I don't think I've ever asked this of new people, and I very rarely do I have two new people on it. So I know a lot of them at C.A.R.E. I know a lot of them who've been at C.A.R.E. and left C.A.R.E. and gone elsewhere. And who inside C.A.R.E. right now has been a good influencer for you?
do you want me to go? I can go.
Yeah, shoot.
Okay, that's true.
Megan.
Oh, he did. Okay, so sorry.
Okay.
I would have to say,
it does not make one person more special than the other.
Exactly.
Correct. So I just want to know, because there's a story behind it, but go ahead.
Yeah. So what I would have to say is I two people. Alyssa, my supervisor, love her. And then my partner in crime, Charlene, she is our outreach coordinator here. Both of them wear their heart on their sleeve, but they're also professional and stern. And being a new college student. I was
Yeah.
not very aware of the real world, as you were saying. And having put me in this position, it's really taught me how to be strong, but be stern and have boundaries for myself, but boundaries with my coworkers. But they've also told me to consistently wear my heart on my sleeve. And being in this job, it gives me the opportunity to be a human and not sit at a desk or not sit at a cubicle, not saying that that's any lesser than, but this job is always interchanging. It's always evolving, and I'm always changing with my emotions and my peers and who my leaders are at this current job. So,
And Katie?
My biggest influence would have to be Charlene. I go to her with outreach events too, and she is so passionate. She's so brave. She can go out and talk to anybody. She's not afraid. She's so willing to help everyone, and she's just so genuine and forthcoming. And I really look up to her, and I hope as I grow, I can be more like her.
So, the beauty in this conversation is that you've got two people, different walks of life, but you've got two people who are looking at a challenge, like one would look at a challenge to maybe get help or leave, or at least find resources and learn and adjust and stay positive and look for people to influence them differently. And you guys are so easy to talk to that is impactful to anybody out in our listening audience who is hearing you talk now, is that you guys are kind of there to listen, right?
Yes.
yeah.
And so asking these questions of you is no different than what you would do with someone that you were talking to, or even just on the listening side of it, listening to what your take is from them, and just trying to help them through a situation, right?
Right.
So on the outreach side, and I'm going to go back to Katie for a second. On the outreach side of things, what have you found that when you go out and you're attacking, attacking's a bad word. I don't like that word. When you're adjusting to the public speaking side of things, the engagement side of things, because I kind of feel like there's a hesitation there for you.
There definitely is.
All right. So, you're handling this right here with grace. You're on the radio, so we've got listening audience out there right now. We've got people all over Facebook who are watching and listening. It's going to be shared. You don't know how many videos, you're
No pressure, right?
No, I don't want to make you nervous, because the beauty is you're having fun at what you're doing now.
Right.
You're laughing, you're engaging, and I think you're kind of feeling relaxed at this moment, right?
Right.
So did you feel different at the beginning of the show or right now?
I felt different at the beginning. I was really scared.
Yeah.
She actually didn't tell me I was coming on to this until very last minute, so I didn't even have time to freak out.
So I'm glad for two reasons, because two of the things that you just said, scared and freak out, those are a couple things that people feel when they have to seek help.
Yes.
And those are fear factors that they have to deal with. And this is a different approach, different conversation than I have with most, because like I said, we don't have two fresh faces normally on the show from two different walks of life. And you're handling yourself both very professional. And kudos across the board from me, because it's not an easy thing, one, to get thrown in to the last second to be on the show.
Yeah.
But third off, you're no different than some of the victims out there that you may be helping.
Right.
So your perseverance through this and helping discover yourself is also part of the leadership that you're going to need down the road. And you're building character right now within yourself. So proud of you for doing that, Katie. And Megan, I'm super proud of you too. But there's a difference between the two, because I feel like maybe you've done some things in college, that maybe some public speaking or some engagement out there, and you're kind of shaking your head. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so actually, I used to be a secondary education major. So I did consistent public speaking classes. I've been in a fourth grade classroom in high school. I was a teacher assistant in high school. And then I was also a teacher assistant in college. And I took Shakespeare classes. So we would just read a lot of Shakespeare at my school. It's a lot more fun than you would think, but public speaking has always been very natural for me. I don't mind it. I like it. It's fun, and I'm able to share whatever I want to, and in a positive manner. So,
Well, and all of these things matter with both of you. And I'll go back to Katie for a second. With all the nerves that you have, it's just not this show, I'm sure. But with all the nerves that you have with the new job and getting started and going through this new adventure, how's it changed you?
It's made me a stronger person. I find my strength for other people. Like before working here, I would always say like I have a really hard time sticking up for myself, but if I have to stick up for my kids, I'll be there in a second. Same thing with like the survivors or anyone who comes and wants to share their story with me. I feel defensive for them right away. And now it just drives me because to go out and talk to people about this, I know maybe I might help someone that day, and that puts my fears to the side. Like I don't have time to be scared. I have good things to share with people. I want people to come get help. So I set my fears to the side and go out and do what I need to do.
And Megan?
Can you ask the question one more time? I'm so sorry.
How's it changed? How's it changed you? How's it influenced you right now?
Similar to what Katie said, it has made me a stronger person. I'm 24. I did not really think I had much of a say, especially in being a new college graduate. I was very scared, had imposter syndrome beyond belief, thinking I couldn't do anything. And this job taught me is that, yes, I can do this. Yes, I do have the reassurance and the support and the backings of not only my peers, but also the people that I talk to as well in the community. And the community is just, I'm very thankful for them as well, because they help, and it helps solidify my fears of, oh my God, what if this doesn't happen? And then it happens. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm overjoyed. I'm excited. It happens and we get stuff going. So
you guys are both really accepting to the challenges of your jobs. Be so different and yet different maybe paths in the future. The nice thing is you're showing the ability to adjust and to make the adjustment, not just for others. There's got to be some internal growth for both of you along your paths, and some adjustments there. Megan, do you have family at home, or are you single?
I have family at home. Yeah.
So how has that influenced your home now? How has being at C.A.R.E and being part of the fabric of C.A.R.E and how they approach things, has that influenced you at your home at all, or had conversations different at home?
Yes. Being with my family, it has definitely helped me with the boundaries conversation. Didn't think I could have that one. Not that I didn't think it. It's just that it's not a usual conversation that one would have. I mean, we're the Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies. We're always the elephant in the room. So sometimes having these conversations with my parents and being like, oh, this is what I did today. And I talk to these kids, and I go to the Baker Act kids. I go to CBHC. I see multiple walks of life, multiple different ages. And I come home and I'm like, like they get to see me be me and relaxed me. And not to say that I'm not relaxed at this job, but you know, it's definitely a job not for the faint of heart, I would say, Katie. Yeah.
Yes.
And it takes a special kind of person to especially have this job. So it's definitely changed my home life and the way that I'm able to relax more. I'm able to open up more. I'm able to be more honest and still wear my heart on my sleeve. So,
Katie, very similar thoughts?
Yeah, very similar. I'm more relaxed at home, but it's also opened me up to the importance of like having these hard conversations with my kids. I have 2 teenage kids, and I have openly talked to them about the possibilities, like what would you do if someone disrespected you in that way, or what's a healthy relationship, what's not healthy. Before I worked here, I didn't realize there was like teenagers that went through those kind of abusive relationships. I just didn't think that was a thing in teenage years, but now I know more, so I've had the difficult conversations with them.
So we've talked on this show in the past about teen dating and different things that happen there. You know, I might just be a tad older than both of you put together, which is kind of not making me feel like super right now. But so if I can face that, I guess you guys can face just about anything out there. But you know, things are different today than they were when I was a kid, and sorry to tell you, they're probably a little bit different than you when you were a kid for
Yeah.
your kids and your kids' futures. So, you know, all these things being said, you know, that the people that sit back and go, oh, it's the same. Well, it's not. It's not. It's there's a lot of different strategies as a parent you can take now, different roads that you can put your children down, and get them educated. There's something to be said about really school smarts, the scholar smart, but also the street smart side of things,
Right.
and putting those two together and really creating a wise person so they can analyze and adjust and kind of see things. And I think more importantly, you both talked about it, which was the open conversations and some of the boundaries that you have to draw. So, you know, 27 years medical, I dealt with a lot of things in a level 1 trauma center, and we you know, it was unbelievable sometimes, and the education that you get from and I say this with you know, not a lot of happiness, but other people's misery. Sometimes you learn from it so you can adjust, and I mean this with all due respect across the board, because we don't want anyone to be miserable. We don't want those things, but you're going to learn a lot of things that are going to help you maybe turn some corners for other people, and that is because the two people that you are now and that who you're going to become, and I do mean that. It's those adjustments that you guys are both talking about right now. They're super important for people out in our listening audience to hear. If you're able to make those adjustments and you're able to do those things, you're giving them hope that they should call the hotline. They should have that conversation, that it doesn't present harm to ask the questions or just call and start talking. We talk about the hotline a lot on this show, and that there's really no tracking device on any of the calls. You're not chasing people down. You're not going to be able to find them. The only way that you can have these conversations is if they call. Can you kind of reassure people of that?
Yeah, so we don't record the calls at all. We don't even see what number you're calling from. We don't look into any of that. We'll never even call you back. If you hang up on us mid-sentence, we're not going to call back, because we're not going to put you at danger that maybe someone came home that shouldn't have been. We're just never going to do that. The only record we ever have of a call is something that's written down on a piece of paper and shared and kept very, very safe within this office. But even like, if I got a call today, if Megan doesn't need to know about it, I don't tell her about it. It's on a need to know basis. So even between people in the office, we don't share anything. Like, you just get a one-on-one person that you get to talk to and confide in, and it stays between us.
And with that as well, since I work with the younger children, which has a much more Florida statutes and limitations, believe me. Whenever I go to the Baker Center, when all these kids are Baker acted, I obviously, the one thing we always say is, we will never, ever approach you, ever in public, even if we see you. The only time you can approach us and you can talk to us, but we will never approach you. We will never talk about your situation.
So I'm gonna ask you a question, and there's people in our listening audience that they know what Baker Act is, but can you kind of highlight what that is for the people who don't really know?
Yes. So a Baker Act is a 72-hour mandatory hold. It's for people that are either looking to harm themselves or harm others. And since I'm with the children most of the time, it is either or, and they don't really give us a rundown either. And they only give us their first names as well. So whenever we walk in, it's like, okay, what are we bracing for? What is the ages groups? And I mean, I've seen children as little as 7 to 18. I mean, 7 to 17. Yeah. 7 to 17.
So you've talked about the protection as far as the inside the office, and it's kind of ironic. You just talked about boundaries within the office.
Mhm.
So all of these topics that we're talking about, they kind of start to layer themselves throughout the organization. Um, I find it to be interesting because I have talked about it for so long that I feel like I can hold these conversations with people, and I do actually hold these conversations with people, but I always refer the hotline number. I always refer to the professionals. I'm not a professional, but I've listened enough to feel like I can at least not push, listen enough, advise enough just to get them to call and go that direction. That's a really important part of the citizens in our country too, is to step up and start paying attention. As young people, us older people, we're walking around, looking around more than we care to tell. We're looking at change. We're looking at all the things that are happening within our society that we're not used to seeing. The newer things, the growth, the just to the way things are today, the computers. We've got an older generation that kind of got slammed with getting educated on the computers with COVID. So they're trying to catch up with change. But the younger adults, I got two in the room, and this is the beauty of this conversation. And I actually call them the downlookers because they're constantly looking down at their phone. They're constantly not paying attention. It's really important to pay attention for our fellow citizens, our friends, and so forth. Being the younger generation, what would be your advice? And I'll start with Katie. What would be your advice to the waitresses of the world, to the people that are out there that came from your walk of life and what you've been through? What is it that you want to tell them that is the most important part of being involved and yet not physically being involved?
I'm not sure I know what you mean, like being involved in the kind of situations that we deal with here.
No, just visually.
Being present.
Yeah, being present in the moment. Are you like if somebody were to be abused, if you're looking down at your phone,
You're not going to
not
know
paying
it.
attention. So
Right.
the downlookers of the world, what your generation, I say your generation, and I'm not in it, but I'm a downlooker sometimes too. I hate to say it, but it's true. But I've learned to use my phone. A lot of us older adults have learned to use our phones. So we weren't downlookers in our youth. We were out
Right.
playing. We were doing our thing. Not that we didn't have our distractions, but it's different today. That electronic device whether it's an iPad or a video game or whatever, it seems to take a person and really lock them on a target, and it blocks. It like turns off their hearing. It turns everything off.
I know.
And
Okay,
so,
I get it now.
yeah.
I think it's just so important to be present and to really like have active listening skills. I've even been guilty of this before. My son was trying to tell me something important that happened at school, and I was looking at a work email and doing something else. And he was like, "Mom, are you even here?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I am not paying attention." But like, if you really look at someone and try to give them your full attention and just set the phone down a minute and really pay attention, you don't know if you're that one person that they really need to talk to that maybe could make them see that things aren't right, or maybe they just really need someone to confide in that day and they don't really have anyone else. You don't know what the other person's going through, and if you don't pay full attention, you're probably not going to find out.
Right. Megan?
Yeah, so actually, I have this quote in my head of what I would like to say, and I hope anyone that's listening, please do listen, that you need to make the decision to not let life stop you from living it. Whether that be either you're looking down on your phone, whether that being aware, as you said earlier, we're listening sometimes. I mean, I'm 24, I'm part of the Gen Z generation. So sometimes it may seem like we're not, but we do listen, and making the decision to not let your life, you know what I mean? To not let life control you, especially when it comes to looking at your phone, especially when it comes to all of these other things. I mean, there's so much information, especially on our phones, and it's like information overload at that point. Yeah. But yeah, I do hope whoever's listening is just, sometimes.
Yeah, the importance for people to pay attention out in the real world too is that, there's information that gets collected if something happens. If somebody's taken, if you can visualize the person who got taken or the person who took them, rape is, it's not. I wish it was a ending thing in our society, but it's not. The reality is it's probably never going to go away. We can only educate about rape and prevention is paying attention to your surroundings and that down looking moment. If you're not paying attention, I tell this story often. When I was younger, my dad took me into a bar setting. I was able to drink when I was a lot younger than there is today. Back then, we were able to drink at 16. So, and we were legal. And so he took me to the bar and said, "All right, show me how you walk in." And I said, "Well, this is ridiculous." So I walked in and sat down. And he says, "Now, let me show you how to walk into a bar you've never been to." And he said, I need you to follow me." And he walked in and he showed me what was on the floor. And there was blood from the night before in the carpet. And took me in and said, "All right, you're in a strange place. You just saw the doorway. You saw what happened. Now you're going into this bar. Where are you going to sit?" And he took me to the exit, and he put my back against the wall next to the exit door, facing the front door. And he said, "That's how you go to a place you've never been." I go to restaurants like that. I don't ever sit with my back towards the entry. It makes me very uncomfortable. I tell this story because we all have to pay attention to where we go all the time. We're in the number 6 human trafficking state in the nation, and we don't have a society that walks in and looks for an exit strategy. We have a society that walks in and relaxes and says it's not going to be me. And you pay attention to your phone and you do those things. There's some lessons out there for people to hear. I don't want to be the only one sitting with my face towards the front door. And with my back towards the exit door. I like to know where I'm at. I like to strategize that. I've told my boys this. My granddaughters are 6 and 3 right now. I'm going to tell them the same thing. I think it's a valuable piece for people to realize, but it doesn't matter where you go sometimes that you have to do that. Has anybody ever told you anything like that before?
Yes, I learned it from the news. It was when the shooting happened in the movie theater where this random person just came up and shot the theater. I learned at that moment that I needed to be fully aware of where I was, sit on the aisle, be the first one out, at least know where 2 exits are, because there's not just one exit always.
Right.
And my parents have always taught me to, just be aware. Like, it's not just you. It's never just you. Unfortunately, like as you were saying, you can't just say, oh, this wouldn't happen to me. It wouldn't happen to me. Statistically speaking, sometimes the numbers are true. Sometimes they're not. But even if they're not, being aware and having those moments of, oh, I want to sit at the end. I sit at the end. I always sit at the end of the table so I can at least be the first one up or the first one down or anything of that sort. So that's what my parents kind of taught me.
Great. Katie?
There's nothing really that comes to mind for me.
Well, I bet there's a moment now. How about that? That sense that I have that my dad gave me, it has not, I wouldn't say it's saved me. It's made me very cognitive of my surroundings. And I think if there's anything that this show is with you guys and others, is that we're trying to tell people to be very cognitive of their surroundings all the time. Because it doesn't matter whether it's rape, it doesn't matter whether it's human trafficking, it doesn't matter if it's abuse. You need to be aware of your surroundings and look for the exit strategy and find people who can help you with the exit strategy. I think it's a good kind of combination of all of them. And you guys are very cool to come on and do this because it's a last minute thing for both of you. I know because I talked to Jamie, who I'm a huge fan of, by the way, and if you get influenced by anybody, lean on Jamie too because she's a good influencer. It's good to have good people at C.A.R.E. And I say this with no laughter, but you guys care, and it's easy to care when you're focused on people and trying to lift them up and trying to help them out of a situation. I've got one person who watches the show all the time, and Sean and I do a show on Tuesdays for Northport high school sports called Bobcat Blitz. Mm-hmm. So he says, I'm late to this episode. Did these important people mention this week is Suicide Prevention Week? ? We are going to have a guest on tomorrow's show who is raising money for suicide prevention. Thank you, C.A.R.E, for all that you do for our community. Thanks, Sean, for that. I appreciate it. It is Suicide Prevention Week, and we did kind of highlight that a little bit at the suicide side of things. What's important for you guys at C.A.R.E? And you guys have so many days of the year that the message, I don't want the message to get confused because these are special days. These are educational days. But you guys talk about this education constantly, right? Mm-hmm. But what is suicide prevention? What is the Suicide Prevention Week for you?
Suicide Prevention Week for us at C.A.R.E, or just in general, is just, again, spreading that message. As we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes, is being aware and having these difficult conversations. Yes, we're the elephant in the room, but they're also the elephant in the room. Suicide prevention, equally an elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about because it is a sensitive topic and it can be triggering to individuals that have many different lives. But it's definitely, Suicide Prevention Week is an educational one as well. And I think highlighting that is equally as important, as well as spreading awareness.
And going out and as far as outreach, Katie, how is this week any different for you, or is it?
It's a lot the same. I feel like we're always kind of doing suicide prevention in the fact that if we help someone get out of that situation, we might be saving them from possibly harming themselves because they feel like there's no other way out. Like, we're a resource to offer them something that they don't end up going that way. A lot of the victims in these situations feel trapped, or they feel insecure within themselves, or they just feel like they have nothing else they can do. And we're just here to show them that there are other options.
That's fantastic. You know, the younger generation that you guys are talking to, do you find that it's, and I don't, this word is not meant the way it's going to sound, easier to talk to them?
In the sense of,
Age, age and relationship that way. Because you're dealing with you're dealing with that younger generation. And, you know, for me to sit down and talk to the younger generation, I can do it sometimes, but it's not the same as when I was 18 and was able to do it.
yes, yeah. Being 24, being a fresh graduate student, I'm able to talk to the college individuals a lot more. But as I said, for my background, I've worked with fourth graders, I've worked with a bunch of other younger grades as well. And I've had a younger sister as well. So I kind of see it as in like being an older sister in the way, but still being respectful and professional and knowing how to pivot from these conversations, because these children know more than we think they do.
Yeah.
And I hate it when, actually, I shouldn't say hate. I don't like it when we underserve them in the way of we just undermine them in general, because they do know a lot more. I mean, Katie knows this, having children as well, is they do know a lot and they do understand a lot of things. And yes, it can be difficult having the relationship talk with younger kids, but they are aware of it. And again, just having those conversations, not making it as scary as it needs to be, because it's not scary. We don't want to make it scary. That's not the point of us. We're supposed to be educating. So, yeah.
Katie, anything to add?
I just feel like, just from dealing with my kids mostly, it makes me have an easier time talking to people that are younger outside.
Yep.
They're always trying to teach me the lingo and make me cool again. They think their mom is super old though. So they'll be like, "Mom, you don't know because you're old." But I tell them I'm not that old yet, you guys.
Well, I'm going to tell you both. It's coming your direction. Okay. Yeah, I used to be a denier myself, and I'm 61, and I tell my doc all the time, I feel tired all the time. He says, "What do you do?" And I tell him all the things that I'm doing. And he goes, "When are you going to slow down?" I'm like, "No, I used to do these things and not get tired. I'm still doing them, and I don't want to stop." So, you know, it's interesting because there is a calling for both of you to be at C.A.R.E. There's also a need for more of you at C.A.R.E. You guys are going to be the difference makers for a lot of organizations out there in the future. So I for one, we've got about 7 minutes left. I appreciate you both coming on. I appreciate you both being nervous to come on too, because I feel like, you know, you've grown through this moment too, in different ways. And Katie, I'm a fan already,
Thanks.
because you didn't have the public access to speaking that Megan had. But I'll guarantee you, whether she admits it or not, I think Megan was a little nervous too.
Oh, she was. You should have seen the breathing she was doing before we got on here. And she kept telling me I was making her nervous.
Yeah, I do that.
That's okay. So, you know, here's the thing: you've got 2 new people who have learned a whole lot at C.A.R.E. What's the hotline number? I want to see who knows the hotline number. If you look at the bottom of the screen, it's scrolling. But those of you listening on the radio, they're going to give you the number.
All right, so our 24-hour crisis hotline number is 941-627-6000.
Fantastic. You've got opportunities to speak to people in the public if they would like to have any information from you as far as that goes, as far as the outreach side of things. How would they get a hold of anyone at C.A.R.E. to get that started?
They can call the hotline and get it started. They're always welcome to do that. They can reach out to us through the chat online. There's a link to email us on the website if they're interested in like starting to volunteer and do that kind of stuff. Anything else, Megan?
No, other than calling the hotline, we'll be able to assist you and direct you to the right person to talk to when it comes to this.
Yep. And they're, through the hotline, they're pretty quick, and they'll get you to the right person too right
Yeah.
away.
Yep.
You've got all kinds of information out there online. C.A.R.E is fantastic. We've got the Human Trafficking Symposium coming up in January. I know it's a little bit off, but I'm a huge supporter of that. I MC for them for that, and I would love for more people in the listening area in Charlotte County to get involved. They've got great support with all that they do for that, but there needs to be more connection to other organizations out there, church groups, youth groups. There's some really cool education that you guys do, and it doesn't all have to be a downer. We're kind of showing that today because you're laughing about things. I think one of the best ways to get educated on a topic is to go and get educated from people who know how to make you smile through some of it, even though it's not the best information. It is the greatest information, but it's not the best information, though. It's the hardest topics sometimes to talk about. You guys talked about that, and having those discussions at home. The Man, think how hard that would have been if you hadn't gone through this, or maybe not even have had those conversations. Katie, with your kids, those are really important moments, and I'm sure that's going to leapfrog some other conversations at the dinner table at some point when they start dating and they start doing other things. So it's going to change.
It's already started.
It's already started. Well, I'm sorry, you look way too young. I wasn't putting you in that bracket. Dating already, so
my son will be 18 in 2 weeks. He's already.
Oh my Lord. Okay, so yeah, well, we hit a home run there, didn't we?
Yes.
So all these things. The big guy works in mysterious ways. He put you here for a reason, both of you, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Stay on task. You're going to be needed in your industry, whatever it may be. Where our country is going through a lot of growing pains, and healthcare is one of the toughest things across the board. And in this industry that you've chosen right now isn't an easy thing, and people need to give you credit and wrap their arms around you and give you a hug every once in a while. And I'm doing it right now. So I appreciate you both. Is there anything that you guys want to add in? We've probably got about 2.5 minutes left.
Yeah. Actually, we do have a Golfers Who Care event, and it's happening October 6th. It's at the Deep Creek Golf Club, and it's $100 per player. And obviously, to register, you can call our hotline. You can go on the website, and obviously, this will help with our, as Katie was saying, our daycare center that we're currently working on. And again, to help with all the mothers. I mean, she's trying to get a job, can't leave the kid at home, got to put it in daycare. So having that and hopefully building it, and we're still in the process of building it, doing these type of events and charity events, anything of that sort will help indefinitely. And as we said earlier, we do need volunteers, and we understand that this can be a hard conversation for some people, and it can be triggering, but again, it takes that person to just devote their time. And as you said, you volunteer here at the radio, and I bet it's made so many impactful moments and journeys, and multiple journeys that you didn't think you were taking at that time. So we hope that C.A.R.E can be your next journey into something beautiful that we both do. So
fantastic. Anything you want to add in, Katie?
October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I know we just talked at Suicide Prevention Week, so I don't want to talk about that too much, but
that's all right.
We'll have a lot going on for that. You can keep checking our website, and we'll have more stuff going on.
Well, and we'll be back in October. So whether you two are back in October, I'm not sure. But here's the beauty. We've broken the ice, and I don't think you'll be nearly as nervous the next time, will you?
No.
Well, we're at the end of the show, but I appreciate you guys both being part of it. And I look forward to hearing many more stories when we see each other next. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Good
you
luck
so
to you
much,
guys.
John.
Well, this is John Rawlings with Real Talk Radio saying thanks to C.A.R.E in Port Charlotte. If you need anything from them, please get a hold of them on the hotline. Thanks and have a great day. And we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye now.